Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, the host, your crazy comicologist. I don't know. I wouldn't say I was crazy anymore, but we'll leave it at that for today because we are going to be celebrating Time Warp Comics. There it is. I'm going to get back here so we can get a better picture. You'd think I'd learn not to do that. Time Warp Comics is owned until tomorrow by Wayne Winsett, who I've known for well over 40 years of my life. There's the current place in Boulder, and it's easily accessible right on 28th. Great staff, just wonderful people, a huge amount of comic books. There's some toys and some other collectibles there, but mostly it's comic books. It's essay games, and I think there are some, but it's not been my bag, baby. So, but anyway, Wayne's been wonderful. 40 years plus years I've known him, and it's time he's decided to. Well, anyway, stepping away, which who can blame him? 40 years is a long time. I certainly don't blame him, but I haven't gotten over there as much as I want to. What with work and all getting in the way. Can you believe that? This is who greets you as you get in the door, so you know you have to behave yourself. And you can just see that there's figurines there and things like that. Once again, I always think they'd be nice to have, but then I realize, as you get older, having things becomes less important like that, at least to me. Now, I do have collectibles here and there, and we'll see some of them. Most of them I got from Time Warp. From Wayne probably sold them to me. I knew most of the staff back in when I started going in, I want to say probably mid 77, late 77. I know that by 78, we brought Brock, my best friend Brock, over for his first time there. And my brother and I had been there. My sainted mother took all three of us there and left us, probably went to go have a pick me up somewhere in Boulder. But 1717 Pearl Street. Can still tell you where it is. And man, I've been there. I was there a lot. Could drive there with my eyes closed. Fortunately, when I was driving a Volvo, a 72 Volvo wagon, I was safe. Nobody else was if I was driving with my eyes closed. But be that as it may, I digress. And we should. Oh, so there's just some random pictures here. I would really like to get some more of these Doc Savage books. The purist in me wants to read them all in order, but then when you realize they're not intended, you don't have to. So I've read several of these on the side that Will Murray has written under the name Kenneth Robeson. But just so they do have other books there. Now, when I started going to, it's in a different space now. I think it's been in a couple different spaces, but overall, we're going to be talking about the original one. This is an issue I bought, the number 12, the Japanese Fantasy Film Journal, because there was things that I liked as much as dinosaurs and superheroes. It was Japanese monsters. I liked most monster movies at the time. And so finding this is from 79 with a lovely Majin cover. I got two issues there, 12 and 13, because they were published sporadically and just wonderful. But this is the one I still have because it was the first one I bought, and I didn't know much, but I did. Later on, I met a lot of the people whose names are in there, Augie and Ed Ed. I used to know how to say it, Ed, so I'm sorry. But here's we have to talk a little bit about Mile High Comics first, because that was the original name there at 1717 Pearl. This is from an 80. I swiped this. Finding any pictures of that original store is nigh impossible. It's one of my regrets is that I didn't bring a camera down there and just take pictures of the outside at least, because it was the best comic book store that ever was. I love the ones that we have here. And there are lots of them. I'm glad comic book stores are around. But this store, you walked in and they had a magazine shelf on one side. They had new comics in the front, and then the racks of the new comics. And as you went further back onto the left, there was where the old comic books were, and old monster magazines even, because Brock bought all the Ray Harryhausen things he could find and afford that day, and then didn't stop talking, and has not stopped talking since 1978. Be that as it may. And then there was an upstairs where more comics were, but also on the shelves were, and on the right, when you walked in, there were paperbacks, current paperbacks, but also older paperbacks. So it was just this, we didn't have the term happy place back then, but it definitely was probably my very first happy place that because it was just a treat to go there. And it was rare because it was in Boulder, and when you weren't driving, might as well have been on Mars. So here's a Marvel section here where I bought many of these items off and on over the years. They didn't have trade paperbacks, so obviously I bought more comic books. But now I've traded in a lot of the comic books for trade paperbacks, Avengers and such, X-Men mostly from that time frame. This was the first independent comic book I ever bought, Southern Nights there, and I bought 15 and 16 because they were part of a two-part story, and I'd never read anything like this before. It wasn't Marvel, it wasn't DC, it was new. I miss these sort of books. They were fun, and they kind of had a wink, kind of meta about things. We'll talk about Southern Nights at some point. Electrode there was a comic book fan, and so, he knew things. But it had a dragon in it. I mean, that's a great idea. So, and 5'2" Kristen was super powered, and none of them had secret identities, really. They just didn't. Anyway, oh, look, Godzilla comic books. Godzilla versus Sherlock Holmes. What? These are all like the, Army of Darkness, the licensed ones that I could see, but this just Sherlock Holmes. It doesn't, how, too much for my little brain. So I took this comic book down to Mile High. I want to say probably 82. Wayne was working there, and Stan Lee was there. So you can see, can I embiggen it for the Stan Lee? Yes. That's Stan's autograph. He didn't write it. He didn't have anything to do with it, but he signed it because he was a swell guy. He also, the kid behind me, or a couple kids behind me, had a Supergirl comic for him to sign. And all I remember hearing is, Supergirl? I'm sure he signed it because he probably got a kick out of that. But it was, the first time meeting Stan Lee, and, I was trying to think of something poetic and epic to say to him, and probably got out, gee, I like your comics. Super. He was wonderful. So, and here we have some more. I took mostly for the Gru, so I'd remember that I want to buy some more Gru comic books at some point, or find some collections, hopefully, because they just made me laugh. Did I err? And here's a comic that we will see in a video at the end of this. This is not my cover. I just grabbed it, but was my first comic book ever, and I've had two copies. Because the first one I read till it disappeared, and then I had to get another one. Here are some figures. Flashpoint. I think that once again they'd be fun to have, but nobody takes them out to play with, do they? They just keep them in the box so they stay in mint condition. And they're much more fun to take out and play with. Here's a figure I got from Wayne. It's Ultraman. This would have been about 84, 85, a Bandai King of the Hero. Still have it. It's in the box downstairs. The price tag there was about $5, maybe $4.50. It's fallen off since then, but that came right from it came right from Mile High. Wayne bought it in 84. Now, the original Mile High comic store was opened, or that store on 1717 Pearl was opened in 1974. And I started going there in 77, 78. and Wayne bought it in '84 and became the proprietor. And I don't remember when he renamed it Time Warp. Maybe when they moved, because it was in the '80s or possibly '90s. I remember when they were moving because they had comic books outside, boxes and boxes of comic books they were just trying to sell, so they'd have less to move. And who can blame them? Those things are heavy. If you get stacks of them. Here's some figures from there. Mostly took it for the Lost in Space figure. Yeah, MODOK. I must have had the flash on. But yeah. So Lost in Space, Polar Lights. They do great work too. Oh, and there's our random picture of Higgin-Toot, the Pachycephalosaurus. He rocks. These are reprints now, $6.99 for the original, for Wonder Woman #1. I should have done some more, but there's the Flash. I bought several of these. They're lots of fun. Here's a reprint, something they should reprint, the All Kryptonite issue. That is my issue of the comic book, by the way. I don't, let's just say I got it there. I don't remember these days, but I had it again as a kid and it disintegrated because kids don't, you don't think you're going to want to read them forever, right? Here's some kids stuff, which I was more interested than anything on the other ones, except for maybe Little Batman, but they've got all kinds of nifty things. I was looking for the Herculoids or the Johnny Quest, but didn't find those. I didn't ask because I didn't want to. They were the new owners were there, who were super nice, really knowledgeable. They've been shopping there for years too. I do think I have a couple of maybe a decade. I'm of an older vintage than they are, but really nice. I was really happy to see that the store is in good hands. So when I go back, and I'm sure I will, because I get it there about 3 or 4 times a year. It's not far, but there's time out of your day, right? I just bought this from there today. It was slightly damaged, so I got it at a great price, which really helps for the Captain America cartoon series that I'm doing on Mondays. Wish I'd had it first time. I had this model, not this particular one, but the Gigantics. There were 4 of them: a tarantula and maybe a wasp and something else, a scorpion, of course. They're not really, not all of them are bugs, but I think I had the mantis because I used it with my Godzilla model from Aurora. The glowed in the dark, glue in the dark. Well, it shined in the dark, glow in the dark. We're going to leave it at that. So I could reenact Son of Godzilla or Godzilla's Revenge because I saw that first. Here's a tape I bought from Wayne in 86 or 87 when videotapes started coming out. This is a Star Classics classic, full screen of the Mysterians. Been a pretty decent picture. It's not great when you look at it now, but I was happy to get the whole movie for like $2. Kind of felt I took advantage of them there, but that's what they offered me, and that's why I took the offer. I took this for Werewolf by Night there because of appropriate audiences. I have the whole series of the original run of Werewolf by Night. I don't think there was any blood in it at all. Not shown. But I'd have to read it again, which darn, I'd hate to do that. Most of these I don't even recognize. So, that's how out of the loop I am for current comic books. The Treasure Trove. Got several of these. The Avengers there. It's just cheaper than buying and easier to read because you have to read them all at once, which they were not designed to be. But I still have a few of the essentials, but not too many because I'd rather have them in color. But I do wish DC would have more of theirs come out. I'd like to get the final volume of the original run of Doom Patrol. Speaking of books, real books, I bought this one there at Time Warp. And it's great. There were 3 others I found later on in the series, but this is the first one. Highly recommended if you like to read fantasy science fiction books. There's this is from 5 years ago, pardon me, a magnet that's on my refrigerator. So that's the new address or the current address. and still the current website. And this I just took as, KISS. 4K, Legends Never Die. I don't know when this was published, but Destroyer Edition. Yeah, Gene has never had abs like that. Sorry. I just noticed those. And I threw this in there. I did not get Foom from, speaking of things that need to be reprinted, why has Marvel not put out an omnibus of Foom? Just a collection of 1 through, I don't remember, 14, 15. I would buy that. I have 3 issues, I think, still out of my 4 issues that I got. Yes. But the second one, the first one was of the all new, all different X-Men, and then this was the third one. It was about the Vision, so I was happy. Here's some more Independence, or is this DC? That's DC, isn't it? Yes. Oh, that's the movie. Huh. They used to sell movies, as you've seen. It just took some pictures. These are mostly just random pictures here. These are the back issues, and there's the living Colossus, who was the original Colossus, well before Pyotr Alexandrovich. Oh, geez, Rasputin. Is that his last name? Really, Rasputin? I don't remember. But it's $5 for. I had these at one point, but the Colossus is a good guy. He was from one of the Astonishing Tales or Creatures from the Unknown, or what have you, that Marvel was publishing, and then they figured out how to make him a good guy. So that was fun. And I bought this, not this particular one. This is just a copy, but it was I hadn't seen Gigantor since probably 1969, and this is, I don't know, 87. Once again, 86, 87 Star Maker Classic. This one is from VHScollectors.com, but but it was a first episode of Gigantor I'd seen in probably close to 20 years. And it was well worth it. It was good. I still love it. I love Gigantor. This is somebody's Space Ghost, Dynamite, which that's a little too adult for me, for Space Ghost. Enemy Ace, that was for my friend David, who's wants to be a World War I fighter ace pilot and fly with Snoopy and a Sopwith Camel. But who doesn't? More figures here. And look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's amazing that Harley Quinn came out of a cartoon and has been the most popular thing that happened to DC in ages. I don't know what any of these down here are. There's my Space Ghost figure. Now, that's a Space Ghost figure. There's no blood all over him. That's for Lilith, of course. And I think, so this is what prompted me to go over there, because I didn't realize Wayne was still going to be on as advisor for 6 months. But he was, and he found it, and I think he's found a great fit, and I wish them, the new owners, all the success in the world, and another 40 years plus of business. They'll get mine. And here's their logo, which, he's reading. It's a dinosaur in a spaceship reading. It's a T-Rex, too. He's only got 2 fingers. Reading a Superman comic book. I mean, how much better can you get? And this is me as I was leaving. There's a Cosmos Pizza over here, which is really delicious. And I don't know what else everything else is, but plenty of room. And that is our episode for the day. Mile High / Time Warp Comics. Time Warp Comics has been just a steady part of my life since, I was 12. We're going to say 12. Since I was, 12 and a half probably. But it's been there, and I'm glad that it's still going to be there. And Wayne, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, because I hope you do hear this. I appreciated you and just, all the stuff you accidentally gave to me. So, and being able to just help keep a comic book store in Boulder, like it says right here. Boulder deserves a quality comic book shop, and it certainly does. So, that's our podcast. Just remember to treasure your stores, because what would life be without them? I mean, really. There's always hidden treasures you can find anywhere. So until our next episode, this is X7 signing off, and I'm going to go read some more Captain America stories.
僕たちの世界未来僕たちの明日みんな
So here's just a little video to go with the story today of some of the items I've purchased at Mile High Comics / Time Warp, mostly Time Warp. But that's signed by Roy Thomas there, my first ever comic book that my father bought me. This is something I bought, some 30 or 40 years ago, but because I read my original one to pieces. This is the 12th issue of the Japanese Fantasy Film Journal. I got 12 and 13 there. This is from 1979, so it might have shown up. Kaida will make an appearance here in the video. And just one fun, I remember buying the first issue of Blue Devil there. I think it was Time Warp by then. And then just yesterday I bought this, mostly for this great cover. I haven't even read it yet. And I also got a Doc Savage reprint. So the cat, of course, did not come with the comic books, she's standing on a rarity there. And yes, this is a fleece with Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern on it. That was a birthday present from, 10 years ago now. Not from Mile High or Time Warp. And the cat, well, Kaida is just Kaida. She's my little girl.